Commander John Harrow peered out the viewport of the starbound Voyager, his eyes fixed on the swirling blue and green planet below. Zenith, as the researchers had named it, was a world of vast oceans and sprawling continents, shrouded in mystery and, until now, deemed untouchable by intergalactic laws. "Approaching final descent, Commander," reported Lieutenant Miles Donovan, the ship's pilot and John's right-hand man. His voice was steady, but John could sense the underlying tension. "Keep the shields up and scanners at maximum. We don't know what's waiting for us down there," John ordered, his gaze not leaving the planet. Dr. Simon Ford, the mission's chief scientist, chimed in from his station. "The atmosphere is thick, John. It's rich in oxygen, more than we've seen on any other planet in this sector. It's odd. No other species can tolerate it. Only humans can breathe it without support." John nodded, processing the information. "That's what makes this rock so valuable. If we can set up a base here, it could solve a lot of our problems back home." As the starbound Voyager penetrated the atmosphere, the ship began to shudder under the stress. "Turbulence is stronger than predicted," Miles grunted, fighting with the controls. "Steady, Miles. Bring us in gently. Everyone else, strap in and prepare for a rough landing," John instructed, his voice calm yet authoritative. The ship groaned and rattled as they descended through thick, cloud-like layers of atmosphere. After a tense few minutes, it finally broke through into clear skies, revealing the lush landscapes of Zenith. "Landing site coming up," Miles announced, easing the ship down onto a flat expanse near a large water body. Once landed, John was the first to disembark, stepping onto the alien soil. "Welcome to Zenith, folks," he broadcasted over the comms. Dr. Ford joined him, his eyes wide with scientific curiosity. "Incredible. It feels like Earth but untouched by human hands or any hands for that matter." The ship's engineer, Sergeant Rick Thompson, began unloading equipment. "Let's set up the perimeter. I don't want any surprises," he said, his voice echoing slightly under his helmet. John surveyed the area, his experienced eyes scanning for any signs of danger or anomaly. "Simon, start your samples. Rick, get those sensors online. Miles, help coordinate the equipment setup. We need this base operational before dusk." "Yes, sir," they responded in unison, each moving off to carry out their duties. As they worked, John's communicator beeped, a signal that they were not alone on this planet. "Commander Harrow, this is Starbound Control. You've got an incoming transmission from an unidentified source." John's brow furrowed. "Patch it through." A hissing crackle filled his earpiece, then a voice, smooth and flowing, unlike anything human. "Human vessel, you tread upon sacred ground. Why have you come?" John responded firmly. "We seek only survival. Our planet struggles, and your planet has resources that could help." The voice paused, then replied, "Consider your actions carefully, human. Not all treasures are free for the taking." John glanced back at his team, busy setting up the new world. "Understood, but we intend to stay. Maybe there's a way we can help each other." The line went dead, leaving John staring into the alien horizon, pondering the delicate dance of diplomacy he was about to navigate. Commander John Harrow assembled his team in the makeshift command center they had established just hours after landing. The air was heavy with anticipation and the weight of responsibility. The team gathered around the holographic map displaying the terrain surrounding their base. "Miles, update on the perimeter security," John commanded, his eyes scanning the glowing blue outlines of their temporary home. "All sensors are operational, Commander. No breaches, but the system picked up some unusual seismic activity a few kilometers north," reported Lieutenant Miles Donovan, his focus unwavering as he tapped through the data on his screen. Dr. Simon Ford interjected, eager to share his findings. "That might correlate with the subterranean water channels I've detected. This planet is more active than our initial scans suggested. It's fascinating." Before John could respond, the tent flaps rustled open, and Sergeant Rick Thompson stepped in, his face etched with concern. "Commander, we have visitors, not human." John straightened, his instincts kicking in. "On my way," he said, striding out of the command center with Rick at his heels. The rest of the team followed, a mixture of curiosity and caution in their steps. Outside, a group of ethereal figures awaited, their bodies semi-transparent and shimmering under Zenith's twin suns. They were taller than any human, with elongated limbs and a graceful aura about them. The leader of the group, who had first contacted John, stepped forward. "Commander Harrow, I am Elian, a guardian of Zenith. Your presence here disturbs the balance of our world." The being's voice echoed softly in the open air, not just heard, but felt. John approached slowly, showing his empty hands. "Elian, we mean no harm. We're here because our planet is in crisis. We need resources, yes, but we're also open to learning and understanding. Elian tilted his head slightly, considering John's words. Your species is known to us. You take more often than you give. Why should this time be different? Dr. Ford stepped up beside John, his enthusiasm palpable. We can offer knowledge exchange. We've advanced in areas like medicine and renewable energy. Perhaps there's technology we have that can benefit you as well. Elian remained silent for a moment, then responded. I will consult with the Council of Zenith. We will observe you, John Harrow. Prove that your intentions are as noble as your words. With a gesture that seemed both a warning and a farewell, Elian and his companions faded into the landscape, leaving the human team alone once more. John turned to his team, his expression serious. Let's keep to our mission and show them we're not here to exploit. Miles, enhance surveillance. We need to be aware of all movements, not just for our safety, but to ensure we're not stepping on their toes. Simon, continue your studies, but let's prioritize finding ways our technology might help Zenith as well as Earth. We need to build a case for mutual benefit, he added, looking to the scientist. Rick nodded, understanding his role without needing explicit instructions. I'll double-check all our setups. We'll show them we can coexist respectfully. As they dispersed to their respective tasks, John remained behind, watching the horizon where Elian had disappeared. The challenge was unlike any diplomatic mission he had faced before. It wasn't just about survival now. It was about establishing a legacy of harmony between humans and the mysterious guardians of Zenith. Commander John Harrow stood in the dim light of the early Zenith morning, overlooking the rugged terrain from the edge of their encampment. He sipped his coffee, the bitter warmth a small comfort in the alien environment. His thoughts were interrupted by the soft crunch of gravel behind him. Turning, he saw Dr. Simon Ford approaching, a datapad in hand. Commander, you should see this, Simon said, extending the pad. The screen displayed a series of encrypted messages that had been intercepted by their communications team overnight. John's eyes narrowed as he read. The messages were not from Earth, but from a rival corporation known for its ruthless acquisition of alien technologies and resources. How did they get our frequencies? John asked, his voice a mix of anger and disbelief. It seems we have a mole, John. These aren't just random scans. Someone is feeding them information from inside our team, Simon explained, his usual enthusiasm dampened by the gravity of the situation. John clenched his jaw, the weight of betrayal settling heavily on his shoulders. Secure the comms. I want a sweep of all personal communications. No one is exempt, he ordered, handing back the pad. Keep this between us for now, Simon. We can't afford a panic. As Simon nodded and walked away, John turned to see Lieutenant Miles Donovan jogging toward him, a look of urgency in his eyes. Commander, we've got a situation. One of the perimeter sensors tripped. It could be nothing, but with this new security breach... Let's check it out. We need to stay sharp, John replied, setting his coffee aside and following Miles to the northern edge of the camp. They approached the sensor location, finding nothing amiss at first glance. But as John surveyed the area, he spotted faint disturbances in the soil, a series of shallow imprints leading away from the camp. Tracks, he muttered, kneeling for a closer look. Not human, not Nihal, something else. Miles scanned the horizon with his binoculars. There's movement about 2 clicks north. Too coordinated to be local wildlife. Looks like we might have company. John stood, his mind racing. Arm up, Miles. Alert the team, but keep it quiet. We're going to follow these tracks. If our mole has brought mercenaries here, we need to know before they know we're onto them. Armed and cautious, John and Miles followed the trail, which led them through a winding ravine. The walls of the ravine amplified the smallest sounds, making the crunch of their boots deafening in the silence. After about 20 minutes, the trail opened up to a small clearing where they spotted a group of armed figures huddled around advanced scanning equipment. Not corporate mercenaries, but something potentially worse. Poachers, Miles whispered, recognition dawning. They're after the indigenous flora. Must be worth a fortune to the right buyer. John felt a surge of anger. Zenith's unique ecosystem was already at risk. Exploitation like this could be catastrophic. We're taking them down, on my signal, he said, preparing his weapon. With precision and speed born of years of training, John and Miles incapacitated the poachers, securing the area before any harm could be done to the environment. As they called in the rest of their team to clean up, John couldn't shake the feeling that the real threat was still out there, hidden within his own ranks. The betrayal was more than just a breach of security. It was a threat to their entire mission, and it needed to be rooted out before it could undermine everything they were fighting to protect. After the poacher incident, tensions within the camp escalated. Commander John Harrow's trust in his own team was shaken, knowing that a mole was undermining their mission from within. The intercepted communications and ongoing investigations had yielded no suspects, and the strain was palpable among the crew. In the command tent, John convened an urgent meeting with his senior officers. Lieutenant Miles Donovan, Dr. Simon Ford, and Sergeant Rick Thompson gathered around the holographic table displaying the layout of their camp and the surrounding areas. We need to tighten security, not just against external threats, but also internally. Everyone gets vetted again. I want everything double-checked, John asserted, his gaze stern as it swept across the faces of his team. Miles nodded, his expression grim. I'll coordinate with security. We'll set up additional surveillance on the supply routes and rescan all personnel credentials. As they strategized, the ground beneath them trembled slightly, a warning rumble that was becoming increasingly common as they disturbed the planet's surface. Simon looked up from his datapad, concern creasing his forehead. These tremors are getting more frequent. I'm not sure if it's just geological. The planet might be reacting to our presence more actively than we thought. Before John could respond, the lights flickered and dimmed, casting the tent into shadow. An alarm blared briefly before cutting out, an ominous silence falling over the camp. That's no tremor, Rick said, reaching for his weapon. That's an attack. We're being sabotaged. John was on his feet in an instant, his own pistol in hand. Positions now. Defend the core modules. Miles with me. Simon, Rick, secure the research data and engineering bay. The team split up, moving swiftly to their assigned tasks. As John and Miles headed towards the perimeter, a shadowy figure darted between the supply containers. John raised his weapon, his voice commanding, "Stop! Identify yourself!" The figure paused, turning towards them. It was not one of their own, but a Nihal, the ethereal species they had encountered upon arrival. The creature's form wavered in the dim light, its voice echoing strangely as it spoke. "You should not have ignored the warnings, human." Before John could react, more figures emerged from the shadows, their intentions clear as they advanced towards the camp's critical infrastructure. John and Miles opened fire, the sounds of the conflict echoing through the camp. They managed to push back the initial attackers, but knew this was just the beginning of a larger assault. The Nihal had decided that diplomatic warnings were insufficient, opting instead for direct action to drive the humans from Zenith. Back at the command center, as Simon and Rick worked to protect the vital research data, John radioed in, his voice tense. "This is Harrow. We're under attack by the Nihal. All units, defend at all costs. We need to hold them off until we can figure out a peaceful resolution." The battle raged on, blaster fire illuminating the night as John led his team in defending their new home. Amidst the chaos, John realized the gravity of their situation. Not only did they have to deal with betrayal from within, but they also needed to find a way to coexist with the Nihal, whose world they had invaded. As dawn broke, the attackers retreated, leaving behind damage and a sobering reminder of the delicate balance they had disrupted. John surveyed the aftermath, determined to restore peace and prevent further violence. "We need to communicate with the Nihal," he said to Miles as they assessed the damage. "We must reach an understanding, or this planet will be the end of us all." In the aftermath of the Nihal assault, the tension in the camp was palpable. The night's events had left the team shaken, and the damage to their equipment and morale was significant. Commander John Harrow recognized the urgency of addressing both the internal betrayal and the external threat posed by the Nihal. He called a meeting with his senior officers to reassess their strategy. "We can't keep fighting like this," John stated firmly as he looked around the circle of tired faces in the makeshift meeting room. "It's clear we need a new approach to dealing with the Nihal. We're not just fighting for resources now, we're fighting for the right to be here." Dr. Simon Ford, still rattled from the night's events, nodded in agreement. "Perhaps there's a way to communicate our intentions more clearly. We didn't come here to conquer or desecrate this place. We need to make them understand that." Lieutenant Miles Donovan was skeptical, but supported a change in tactics. "We might have one advantage. During the skirmish, I captured one of the Nihal, non-lethally. He's contained and seems different, less aggressive. Maybe we can use this as an opening for dialogue." John considered this for a moment before replying. "Set up a secure area for a meeting. I'll talk to this Nihal myself. It's a risk, but it's one we need to take." The meeting was arranged under tight security, with the captured Nihal brought in, surrounded by energy fields that could restrain him if necessary. John entered the area alone, unarmed as a sign of good faith. The Nihal, who introduced himself as Sael, appeared calm, his body's bioluminescent glow fluctuating with his speech. "Why have you captured me? Do you not seek peace?" Sael's voice was both haunting and beautiful, echoing around the containment area. John replied honestly, "We acted in defense, not aggression. I'm here to talk, Sael. We need your help. Our planet is dying, and Zenith's resources could save countless lives. We didn't come here to fight." Sael seemed to consider John's words carefully. "Many of us believe you only bring destruction, but I sense your sincerity, Commander Harrow. Perhaps there is a path to coexistence, but it requires trust, something hard to earn after what has transpired." "Let me try," John urged. "Help us communicate with your leaders. Show them we can be allies, not enemies." Moved by John's plea, Sael agreed to arrange a meeting with the Nihal Council. "I will take your message to them, but I must return freely. Your show of faith starts by releasing me." John nodded, signaling the guards to lower the energy fields. As Sael moved to leave, he paused. "Many on my council will not be easily swayed, Commander. Prepare well your words and actions." With Sael's departure, John convened with his team to prepare an in-depth presentation of their mission, emphasizing their desperate ecological situation on Earth and their commitment to protecting Zenith's integrity. The hope was to engage the Nihal Council not just with words, but with a clear plan for sustainable harvesting and environmental protections that could benefit both species. As they worked into the night, compiling data and formulating their appeal, John felt a cautious optimism. This was the breakthrough they needed, a chance to turn desperate conflict into a promising alliance. The upcoming meeting with the Nihal Council would be critical, the first true test in what John hoped would be the path to peace. As the preparations for the pivotal meeting with the Nihal Council were underway, Commander John Harrow's team worked tirelessly to ensure every detail was perfect. The data was comprehensive, the proposals were respectful, and the diplomatic gestures were carefully planned. However, the shadow of internal betrayal still loomed over them, unresolved and menacing. John was in his makeshift office going over the final draft of his presentation when Dr. Simon Ford burst in, his face pale and his hands trembling with a mix of anger and panic. "John, it's gone, all of it. The research data, the environmental impact studies, the resource management plans, everything has been wiped." John stood abruptly, his chair clattering to the floor. "What? How? We had triple redundancies." Simon shook his head, clearly distraught. "It's a sabotage, no doubt about it. Someone didn't just delete the files, they corrupted the backups. It's sophisticated, beyond anything our standard security measures could handle." Clenching his fists, John felt a surge of frustration. "Get Miles and Rick, lock down the camp. No one gets in or out until we figure this out. And get our IT specialist on recovering whatever fragments of data she can." As the camp went into lockdown, John convened an emergency meeting with his senior staff in the command tent. Lieutenant Miles Donovan reported on the security measures. "All exits are secured, and all communication lines are monitored. We're sifting through to find any unauthorized transmissions that might tell us who's responsible." Sergeant Rick Thompson added, "We're also doing a complete sweep of all quarters and common areas. Whoever did this might still have the tools or data drives." Despite these efforts, the atmosphere in the camp was tense, the team members casting suspicious glances at each other, wondering who among them could betray such a crucial mission. Hours later, amidst the stringent searches and interrogations, their IT specialist, Lisa, approached John with a small data drive. "Commander, I found something. It's not much, but I was able to partially recover a file from one of the corrupted sectors. It looks like a communication log." John took the drive, his heart heavy. "Good work, Lisa. Let's see if this gives us our mole." Back in his office, John loaded the file. The log was fragmented, but a few lines stood out, revealing a communication between a team member and an unknown external source. The messages discussed the meeting with the Nihal and hinted at a desire to see the mission fail. With this evidence, John and Miles confronted the suspect, a junior engineer who had been working closely with the environmental monitoring equipment. Under pressure, the engineer confessed, revealing that he had been approached by a rival corporation before the mission. They had promised him a significant sum for sabotaging the talks and ensuring that the human expedition was expelled from Zenith. John listened to the confession with a sinking heart. The betrayal was worse than he had feared, not just a moment of greed, but a premeditated strike aimed at the heart of their mission. Determined to salvage the situation, John addressed his team. This betrayal will not define us. We will rebuild what was lost, and we will attend that meeting with the Nahal. We came here with a purpose, and I will not let shadowy corporate games deter us. With renewed resolve, the team worked around the clock, reconstructing their presentation from scratch. It was less polished, but no less sincere, a testament to their dedication to forging a true alliance with the Nahal and protecting the precious resources of Zenith. After the shocking revelation of sabotage within their ranks, Commander John Harrow and his team worked tirelessly to rebuild their presentation for the Nahal Council. Despite the setbacks, they managed to pull together enough material to make a compelling case for cooperation. The day of the meeting arrived with a tense atmosphere hanging over the camp. John, Dr. Simon Ford, and Lieutenant Miles Donovan were to represent the humans in the council meeting, held at a neutral location designated by the Nahal, a clearing surrounded by towering alien flora that resonated with the low hum of the planet's energy. As they approached the site, John reassured his team, "No matter what happens today, remember that we've done everything we can to show our good faith. Let's just hope the Nahal see it." The council convened with Elian and several other Nahal elders present, their forms shimmering in the daylight, giving them an almost otherworldly aura. John presented their case passionately, emphasizing their respect for Zenith and their desire to ensure its protection. Elian listened intently, nodding occasionally, his expression unreadable. After John concluded, the Nahal whispered among themselves in their flowing melodic language, leaving the humans in anxious anticipation. Finally, Elian addressed the gathering. "Your words carry weight, Commander Harrow, and your actions, though marred by betrayal within your own ranks, speak to a commitment that we cannot ignore. We will offer a probationary period of cooperation. You will help us protect Zenith from others of your kind who may come with less noble intentions." Relief washed over John and his team, mixed with the weight of the responsibility they now shouldered. "Thank you, Elian. We won't let you down." As they prepared to leave, the peace of the moment was shattered by the sudden roar of engines in the sky. Miles turned his scanner towards the noise. "Commander, we've got incoming ships. Doesn't look like ours, likely corporate. They must have decided to take matters into their own hands after losing their inside man." John clenched his fists, his brief moment of peace replaced by a surge of protective fury. "We need to get back. They'll be after the minerals, regardless of the Council's decision." Racing back to the camp, they arrived just in time to see several heavily armed corporate mercenaries landing. John coordinated a defensive strategy, rallying his team to protect both the human encampment and the nearby Nahal territories. "Let's show them that Zenith is no longer up for grabs." The battle was fierce, with John and his team leveraging the planet's unique terrain and their newfound understanding of the Nahal technology. The mercenaries were tough and well-equipped, but they were unprepared for the cooperative defense put up by the humans in Nahal, who used their knowledge of the planet to disrupt and disorient the attackers. After hours of intense conflict, the mercenaries were finally repelled, their leaders captured, and their equipment seized. In the aftermath, John met again with Elian, this time to discuss not just cooperation, but active alliance. "This attack has proven that our enemies will not respect diplomacy," John stated grimly. "We need a unified defense strategy, one that protects Zenith from those who would exploit it." Elian agreed, his voice resonant with the power of his conviction. "Today, you have proven your commitment not just with words, but with actions. Let us work together for the safety of Zenith and the prosperity of our peoples." With a new agreement in place, John felt a cautious optimism. The road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but now, united with the Nahal, they had a fighting chance to protect the planet they were learning to call home. In the wake of the battle against the corporate mercenaries, a newfound sense of unity blossomed between the humans and the Nahal. Commander John Harrow, feeling both the weight of his responsibilities and the relief of their recent victory, met with the Nahal Council to formalize their alliance. The atmosphere was one of solemnity and hope, underpinned by a mutual recognition of the challenges ahead. As John sat with Elian and the other council members beneath the sprawling limbs of a zenith tree, the air hummed with the subtle vibrations of the planet. The actions taken by the mercenaries were reprehensible. However, they have shown us the necessity of our alliance. Together, we can protect Zenith and ensure its resources are used wisely and respectfully, John began, his voice firm yet conciliatory. Elian responded, his luminous form flickering gently in the dappled sunlight. Your bravery and integrity in the face of such aggression have proven your commitment to peace and to our planet. We, the Nihal, are prepared to move forward in partnership with humanity. The Council agreed to establish joint patrols and a shared research initiative focused on the sustainable extraction and use of Zenith's resources. They also plan to construct a series of outposts around the planet to monitor environmental impacts and ensure that no further unauthorized incursions occurred. Back at the human camp, John addressed his team, who gathered around, many still bearing the minor wounds and weariness from the skirmish. Thanks to each of you, we've laid the groundwork for something greater than a mining operation. We're part of a pioneering effort to coexist with another species as equals and protectors. Dr. Simon Ford, who had been instrumental in the negotiations, added, "We've got a unique opportunity to study Zenith's ecosystem alongside the Nihal and learn from it. The research we conduct here will not only help us manage Zenith's resources, but could also teach us how to better preserve Earth." Lieutenant Miles Donovan, overseeing the fortification of their defenses, chimed in, "With the new defense protocols and our Nihal allies, anyone thinking of messing with Zenith is in for a tough surprise. We'll keep this planet safe, not just for us, but for future generations." As the preparations for the new joint operations got underway, John took a moment for himself, walking to the edge of the camp where he could see the expansive landscape of Zenith. The planet, with its vibrant skies and lush, alien vegetation, felt less like a foreign land and more like a promise of a new beginning. He reflected on the journey, the conflicts, and the reconciliation. It had been a path fraught with dangers and trials, but it had led them here, to a partnership that was about more than survival. It was about respect and mutual growth. In the days that followed, as the new measures and partnerships began to take effect, John felt a cautious optimism. They had faced corporate greed, internal betrayal, and interspecies conflicts, yet they had emerged stronger and more united. Looking out at the setting suns of Zenith, John felt a profound connection to this strange new world. It was a feeling of belonging and responsibility, a commitment that went beyond treaties and agreements, a commitment to a shared home and a shared future. As the stars began to appear in the twilight sky, John knew that the real work was just beginning. They would face challenges, perhaps even greater than those they had already overcome. But together with the Nihal, they were ready to meet them head-on. This was not just a new chapter for humanity or for the Nihal, but a new chapter for life's potential across the cosmos.